Hey guys, Tom with Vermont Grow Coaching here, and welcome to Grower's Guide, your weekly beginner-friendly cannabis tips and tricks. This week on Grower's Guide, we're going to be talking to you about cloning. Now, we've talked to you about cloning in the past. We've talked about airline cloning, and we've talked a little bit about using root pods or other sorts of rock wool formations, as well as cloning directly into soil. However, we haven't really touched base on bubble cloning. So today, we're going to be touching base on the easiest way to get you started with bubble cloning right in your own home. So traditionally, you can actually start clones directly on your windowsill in a glass of water. Clones, for the most part, will still root using this process, changing out the water every 3 or 4 days. However, the clones do prefer to have an aerated water during this process. So one of the things we're going to be teaching you today is how to use a basic coffee cup to create a bubble cloner. Now, the first thing you're going to need is going to be an air pump. This little air pump here actually is only about 2 watts, so it doesn't use much power at all, and we actually have it hooked up on a splitter to have 2 hoses. That way we can actually run 2 different cups at the same time. You see here we actually have 2 clones in this measuring cup here. Both these clones were taken within the last 20 minutes or so. They're both super happy and ready to transplant. They each have a little neoprene collar on them. Now, these neoprene collars are not necessary. You can just use a piece of tape to hold your plant in place in the cup. However, if you do have access to these collars, they are definitely beneficial to this process. Now, as far as nutrients are concerned for your clones, if you're using well water or spring water, for the most part, as long as your water is decent and your plants are usually happy being fed that water, it's going to be perfect for your clones. As long as you're taking a healthy clone, the clone isn't going to need any more nutrients than what's already available in its leaves and in the water in order to properly root. Now, if you do decide to go with some sort of a nutrient, we do usually suggest going with a light compost tea, maybe adding a little bit of humic acid, some aloe, etc., and not actually going the route of synthetic nutrients, even when growing in hydroponics. Now, when we took our clones, we already went ahead and added a little bit of aloe and humic acid to our water directly here in the measuring cup. When we took the clones, we did do a little bit of shaving on the sides of the bottom of the clone to help root growth. So there isn't really much more that's needed other than to get these clones into their new homes. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the same water that we took the clones and set them in for the last 20 minutes or so. This water again has a little bit of aloe in it as well as a little bit of humic acid. You can add a little bit of compost tea if you want, but again, not necessary. You could do this with straight water if you're using a proper well or spring water. pHing is definitely beneficial, but again, this is a simplistic method, and for the most part, you will still get beneficial results even without pHing your water. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this measuring cup, we're going to take this coffee cup here. The reason I'm using a coffee cup is because the roots do not like light for the most part, so we don't want to use a glass bottle or a glass cup or anything for the most part, just to help root development. So we're going to take this Pyrex here and pour about half of it, so about a cup of water into this coffee cup here. From there, you're going to take either one of your plants. Now, you can go ahead and trim some of the leaves back if you'd like to, but in the environment we use, this is not necessary, and we actually like to leave the leaves on to provide a little bit more additional nutrients to the clone as it roots. So we're going to go ahead and put this directly in the water. Now, as the clones sit in the water here, you're going to notice you don't have any leaves underneath the collar. The collar is going to have some stem sitting directly in the water, but there will be no leaves actually touching the water itself. From there, you're going to take your air pump, you're going to get it plugged in, turned on. You're going to take your air hose. You should have a small amount of bubbling in the water itself. That's going to help keep the water aerated, providing oxygen to the plant while it roots. It's also going to help prevent the water from going stagnant. We still like to switch out the water every 2 or 3 days using this method. However, you can usually go up to a week or 2 without too many issues. Again though, changing every 2 or 3 days is going to ensure optimal health for the plant and is also going to help prevent any issues that you might run into as far as bacteria and mold. Thanks for tuning into Grower's Guide. Hopefully now you should have a general idea as to how you can create a bubble cloner right at home. If you have any questions or concerns regarding this segment, or would like to set up a consultation appointment, please reach out to us at 802-342-5381. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, or contact us directly at vermontgrowcoach.com.